can see it when you see me, but you got to believe me.
Oh, Sookie now. Hell yeah. I know my dogs are watching, and if you ain't, I know you will be. And if you are watching and you ain't my dog yet, you will be. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Swede, and I want to help you get busy living. Yo, welcome back to the Project 55, y'all. We are on month 4 of what will be 55 months of one epic adventure every single month. This month, I went to Pittsburgh, so stay tuned for future podcasts where you're going to catch a glimpse of what it's like to go to the Immaculate Reception 50th anniversary. But first, since nothing is worth having if you can't share it, allow me to introduce my spectacular co-pilot, the entrepreneur out of Los Angeles, the author and star of UnblawYourself.com, one of my all-time favorite humans, the dazzling Diana D. Rex Eckstein. Yeah.
That was such a ridiculous start that I was just cracking up over here. Hey, everybody who I see already watching. I'm so happy to be here once again. Make sure you say hi in the comments. I want to see who you are. I'm so happy you're here. And I'm happy to be here.
Yes. Thank you for coming. Please say what's up in the comments. It's for you, by you, all bullshit aside. This is why we're doing this, is because we hope that by doing this week after week, that we can attract an audience that knows that our goal is to help you get busy living. And we have such a special time of the year right now, D-Rex. You know, I know that you've had your qualms in the past about New Year's resolutions, but you're coming around, right?
I am coming around. I totally believe it's a great thing now. I think I was just a jaded, what is that when you are just have a nasty attitude about things? You know what, guys, if you hear my chair sounding like a goose tonight, it's just going to have to happen. Okay. But a New Year's resolution. No, goose, not gas.
Oh.
So we're obviously both in different locations.
In the house.
Nice. We're both in different locations tonight. So where are you?
I am happy to say I'm at my joint, the Cobblestone, over here in the EPA on the bayfront of Erie, Pennsylvania.
What?
Hooray!
That is so awesome. Our hometown, our motherland, our mothership.
Absolutely. It's only appropriate. You know, that's why I thought that, you know, this was such an interesting time of the year, you know, because we are at the place where we were born, or in our infancy of our podcast. And I want to, last week we talked about, you know, beginning, you know, getting busy living. Like, what does it mean? And how do you get started with it and making the decision, you know? And I thought that as we go into the new year, that when we're going to start our first full season episode is going to be on Sunday. So please make sure you tune in on Sunday.
Yeah. Season 1,
the official beginning. Yes. But as we come around this corner, I feel like, you know, people are so, you know, overly concerned with how much effort is going to take to make up for lost time. You know, like when you're a kid and when you're growing up, you thought what you wanted to be when you grow up, you're going to be this. And then it's so easy for us to lose track of our dreams, you know, and that's why as you know, I felt like this urge when I had a special guest last week that got to witness how the podcast process happens. And she was inspired, and the look on her face and the energy that exudes from her when she talks about how she was inspired by what she saw last week just really made me feel like, man, this is the type of energy that we need to, you know, reintroduce to the Get Busy Living audience, so that they can recall what it was like to feel just excited about life and like believing in yourself that you can be what you want to be when you grow up. So I would love to take this to introduce tonight's special guest, Mrs. Ava Jean Ulrich. Dun, 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 Girl, how are you?
I'm good. I just wanted to say thank you for having me.
Well, we are so glad you are here. So, D-Rex, Ava Jean, as you've already been told, is Lyric's cousin. She is Heather's niece, my homie Peach, my brother from another mother's daughter. And she has been star of the week for me so far.
Nice.
Last week, she was behind the scenes with us and got a glimpse of it. And last night, she and I sat and shot the breeze for over an hour where it was just us chatting. Yeah, you remember?
Yeah.
So many interesting things that we talked about. What was it? What can you remember about last night that stands out in your mind that we talked about that you'd like to share?
Can I say it?
Help yourself. Yeah, say whatever you like. Smile at your friends. Say first. Say hello to one of your friends that you hope is watching. Can you think of somebody that you hope is watching or will watch someday?
Fatima. Hi, Fatima.
Hey, Fatima. What's up, girl?
What really stuck out to me yesterday is that you said that you were gonna become a doctor, and I kind of was really happy for you that you're going to help people. How should I say it?
No, you're right.
Yeah. Trust your
maybe
instincts.
that can help people. I don't know how to say it.
No, you said you said it. And
That is fine.
when she was telling me earlier, that she thought it was cool that I was going to help people. I was going to heal people that were suffering from the same thing that I'm suffering from.
Yeah.
And she was so inquisitive and she's like, you're in school still, and you're going to be a doctor if you go to school longer. And I'm like, yes. And you remember what was going through your mind when you were hearing me say that?
I was kind of really excited that because when I asked you will you ever be able to walk again, you said yeah, and I was like that's really cool that you would have that chance that you could live your life again.
Yeah. And do you remember what I said when you asked me if I could ever walk again? I told you there was one very important ingredient.
To believe.
Believe. You gotta believe. I want to say hello. Hey, adorable girl. There's another one of you. Hey, what's up, Leah? How are you? Leah says, hi, Ava.
Hi.
You know what? There's probably a lot of people who think that, oh, you got to believe. Oh, what is that? But that believing is the first step to even choosing, right? Believing has to happen before you choose to do it. It is an important step. It's not that's just dreaming. No, believing is the first step.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, when we were talking earlier, D-Rex, I was quoting my favorite. So I've got some people that I like, but I'm not really any kind of obsessive fan of anyone that's quotable. But because I am a Steelers fan, my coach is my guy. And he's got hominisms. And his that he says that always gets me is he says, it's not what you're capable of. It's what you're willing to do that defines you.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
And so last night when I was talking to Ava.
Is that you? Is that you?
I can't stop it. It's an unstoppable force. Unstoppable. I have plotted. I have called Apple. I'm pretty sure that it's on the way. Yeah.
I know. I've seen you turn it off and then it still notifies you. I know. I'm just yanking your chain.
No, but last night when we were talking, and we're talking about me becoming a doctor and to try to learn how to fix myself, and I asked her about what her hobbies were, and she brought up volleyball. So, what is it about volleyball that you like?
What really stuck out to me is when I go to volleyball, when I play, it just clears my mind, and it only makes me think about volleyball. And I don't have any other thoughts except for just volleyball, basically.
Yeah,
that's interesting. It's your meditation, huh? Do you know what meditation is?
Mm-hmm.
How old are you?
I'm 10.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I don't think I knew what meditation was when I was 10, and I don't think I was in any sports. I don't even think I was matching my socks at that point. But it was a different time. It was a different time. There was no TikTok, and nobody was going to post that on Instagram. Well, that's pretty cool because getting into sports early, I think it's very healthy for girls. I can't say that I did the same, but all of my friends who were in girls' sports were very well adjusted because their focus became about what they were doing and how hard they tried rather than how they looked. And that's why I'm a big fan of girls' sports. So I'm really happy you're into volleyball. And I understand you live in Erie, right?
Yep.
And you're kind of a fan of Erie, yeah?
Yeah, I'm a fan.
I'm a fan of Erie. I mean, I haven't lived there in a long time, but I'm a big fan.
You know, last night Ava really got my attention when we were talking amongst me and my buddies. You know, she's obviously part of my family, and I had a family reunion dinner last night. Shout out to the original Ulrichs. And when we were talking about things, you know, and she was like, hearing people amongst the place talking bad about Erie. And what did you say, Ava, when you heard them talking?
When you heard them talking bad?
When you heard them talking trash about Erie, you're like, you.
What was I like?
Well, you defended it. You're like, Erie.
Yeah, I was like, you can't judge a book by its cover. Like, basically, that's what I said.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
But you know what's funny?
Book by like your cover. Like, you can't judge a book by its cover because people would talk about Erie, like about all the fights that happened at Waldemere last year, and like it would stop people from going. And that was only because two teenagers would fight, and like people would really like stop going and like not get interested in it, and then like talk bad about it and like talk about their manager. Like their manager had nothing to do with it. And I was talking to my aunt the one day, she was like, I was like, it would be like fun to take the kids to like Waldemere or something. And she was like, no, there's too many fights. And I was like, the fights had nothing to do with Waldemere, it just has something to do with the people, basically.
Yeah, she was like, just because bad things happen doesn't mean that it's a bad place. You know, you can't judge the whole city just by one little thing happening.
Oh my goodness. And bad things happen anywhere and great things happen anywhere. You know, it's what you focus on, you know, and I think there's a lot of great things about Erie that people constantly overlook. I mean, look at the gorgeous shoreline and the beautiful lake and the historic buildings downtown. And there's a bubbling indie art culture there. And I think this is true for most small towns, you know, and it's a small city. Erie's a small city, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think what it takes is young people like you who are willing to defend their cities and also, you know, help develop them and help build them. So I'm excited to see what you might do as you turn into a teenager, because teenagers can do big things. I can't believe you're only 10. Yeah, I mean, it could be anything.
I was saying, blown away. She was repping last night like she was grown. We were politicking, weren't we?
And I remember I said like if I heard like if I was a president and I heard people like talking about my city, I would have been pretty mad. So like I was like, and I kept saying just you can't judge a book by its cover, because like think about like the president, like if you said something bad to the president, he would really get offended because it's his city. And like he really can't control how people act, you know.
You know what? I don't know if you know this, but quite a few presidents came from very humble beginnings, and I don't want to speak on this because I don't have facts on this, but I know that like Jimmy Carter was a peanut farmer. You know, it's quite amazing where you can come from and rise to the level of president, and who knows, you know, where you will go. But what I was most impressed about, what Swede told me this morning, is that he said, like if you want to be on this podcast, all you have to do is do some research on Erie. And you did it. Like, how many 10-year-olds would do that? The 10-year-olds I know would be like, yeah, sounds great, but I got to get back to my I'm making a TikTok over here. So that's super impressive. And if you have that kind of drive where it's like you take a suggestion and you go do the work, you could do anything in life. So what did you find out in your research that you did for today?
My research, there's a lot of things I found out. Like some people like talk bad about Erie because employees or like workers and stuff like that. One thing that like really stuck out to me is basically Waldemar. They have like a lot of bad reports of fights. Basically, they're all fights, and like I kind of feel bad for the manager because the manager is a sweet guy, and like in all these fights, it like stops people from going, and then it stops people from getting interested. Like me and my dad go to Waldemar. We went to Waldemar a lot, and like after like the fights happened, it was not that busy. It was like it used to be like packed, and it's like 80 degrees, and it's not busy at all. Like we could find a parking spot like that, and like we couldn't even find a parking spot like a week before that happened.
I do think Waldemar is a really great resource that Erie has. And it has history. It's super fun to go to. It's a great place for young people to hang out at. And it's part of your own Erie history, And I don't know if you know this, but like, why do people resort to violence instead of figuring it out with words, And it starts way back. It starts way back with the schools and how well the schools are funded generations before. Because let's suppose, I don't know, 40, 50 years ago, schools are a little defunded or a little rundown. Those people that are raised then have children and they're a little uneducated. So they resort to angry outbursts and violence instead of talking about it because they don't have the words, they don't have the communication skills. And then the next generation has just been yelled at by their parents or abused, And then you've got this other generation that's been raised by abusive, uneducated adults. And then they themselves are not as well educated, and it kind of builds up. And this is a pervasive problem that Erie has, where the schools keep getting defunded and there aren't enough teachers for the amount of kids. What's your experience in the schools there?
I go to Montessori charter school.
Oh, you go to the funded one.
Yeah. Well, I remember I was in Healthy Living and Gym one day, and this kid was being like really rude to like this girl, and he was like yelling at her, and he ended up yelling at the teachers, and like so after that we had a lesson, and it was like teachers leave like every single day, like one or like 3 teachers leave because a student has an attitude, and the teacher basically said like we could get shut down any day because a person left or like we didn't have enough money, and like she was like you're lucky to have like a nice school, like a good education, like because our school's like one out of like the 10 best schools in the area, and like she was like you should be happy that you're at our school, like you should be like nice to us because
but I mean, shouldn't we all be nice to our teachers no matter what school it is? And definitely everyone should be happy that they have any school to go to. It's easy to take all this stuff for granted as an American. You get everything you want all the time, everything you need all the time. But if you take a little bit of a wider look, even in different parts of the country or around the world, not everybody gets what they need.
Yeah.
And the reason people aren't taking, they aren't, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not grateful for their education, is because they don't know how bad it can be. They're taking it for granted. And I'm really happy to see that you are grateful for your educational opportunities. But if we're going to improve any small town, Erie included, it starts with the young people being educated properly with
That is
respect to their
so
education.
that is so well put, and that is exactly how Ava Jean is on this podcast. Because last night I asked her about her hobbies, and volleyball came up, and we started talking about whether or not volleyball was available in the school system for her as she progressed through the different grades and onto the different schools. And that's exactly how this person here went from talking about volleyball. Next thing I know, we're talking about politics. I'm teaching her what the word politics means. And she's expressing her opinions, and she's asking me about my schooling. And the thing that was really the most impressive was that she was very insightful in talking about last week's podcast, and very, like I said, I've used the word already a couple of times, exuberant in her interest in coming on tonight's show. And by the way, thank you very much for coming on. We're so blessed to have you, and to have someone that is so fearless. And I feel like this is an opportunity to remind everyone, that Gittin Bizzy Livin isn't just laying around and all of a sudden a great life happens upon you. She could have just remained silent in the background while the grown folks were talking last night at dinner, and never spoke her mind about anything that she had witnessed or seen last week. And who knows? Last night, for all she knows, might have been the only night we were going to have a family dinner. And even though me and Peach, are always kicking it, for all she knows, that it might have been us kicking it again. But she didn't. She wasn't scared. She wasn't afraid. She didn't hesitate. She was like, I love what you're doing, and I would love to be a part of something like that. And I'm like, well, then, if I were to offer you an opportunity to come on the show, what would you like to talk about? She's like, I would like to talk about how Erie gets a bad rap.
Yeah, it's a great idea, because so often it's any small town can get a bad rap if the news gets a hold of a bad story, and in this case, Erie has had several bad stories come out. But what we really need are some good stories to come out, and we need the young people to get excited about developing the city in the way that is right and is going to exploit all of its natural resources. I don't quite know where Swede went right now, but is he still in the room? Did he disappear? There he is. Hey, you mentioned something about youthful exuberance. Did you notice what I added to the stream?
Oh, no, you didn't. Get out of here, woman.
I was going through my old yearbooks right before I left. Hey, there's Dorothy underneath you.
Hey, Dorothy.
Yeah, I don't think she's actually here, but if she is, say hi. Actually, anybody who, like, I see a bunch of people here. Just say hi so we can see who you are. We get so excited to know who's here. I found this and I wanted to bring this up, but you said youthful exuberance. I'm like, this is the time. Look at little, is this 9th grade?
I don't even recognize that shirt.
Too long ago. But I think that her excitement for life, I think your excitement for life is actually going to carry you really far. You can do so much with that. Do you have plans for the future? Like, do you know what you want to do? It'd be unfair to ask a 10-year-old this, but let me ask you anyhow.
Right now?
Yeah.
When I was really little, I told him the story. When I was really little, I had this cat. His name was Zaza. He was the craziest cat ever, but I loved him. And I had a bunny too, and his name was Lindor. Well, Lindor ended up passing away, and I think my cat got a little sad, and he got sick, and we took him to a vet, and the vet wasn't really a good vet. So we took him to another vet, and they were like, the surgery that the other vet didn't really work. So like you're gonna have to put him down, or like you're gonna have to give him another surgery. That's probably gonna be expensive, and he's probably not gonna make it. So we were like, well, we have to put him down because we don't want to put him in more pain. So it was really sad because it was like a family pet. So I told my mom, I said, I want to be a vet when I grow up, and I don't want to let not an animal or a family suffer as much as we did. So I wanted to do that, but like then I was like, what is like my future might change, and I might not be that. So I kind of put that to the side. But now I really like volleyball, so I'm like thinking to be a volleyball player, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, I think that all sounds great. And I don't think you can know when you're a young person. I mean, sometimes you do. It's very rare, though. In fact, I mean, I spent a lot of my adult life being a music teacher. And I specifically remember saying when I was a kid, why would I ever want to be a music teacher? So it's hard to know. It's hard to know what you would want to be. And it would be unfair for me to be like, so what do you want to be? How are we going to help you get there? Because you shouldn't decide by this point. You should grow and live life. And it sounds like you would be good at whatever you tackle. But I think volleyball is a good start. It's a place where you can develop your personality and your friendships and possibly get a scholarship to do whatever you want through something that you love. Not a bad path.
Well, Tasha says, I'm so impressed with you, Ava. Such a beautiful and smart girl. And Rochelle Kendall says hi. You want to say hi to Rochelle? And Serena, hey, Serena. Serena says hi. How was your Christmas? Serena Love. And so
I have something I want to ask her. You said something about your cat got really sad, right? And I think that I see headlines all the time, and I'm certainly not trying to put any kind of like idea in your head here. It's just something that we're going to do here on the podcast. Just know that there's no judgment either way. But I do read headlines all the time that are like, studies show that animals might have feelings. And I'm like, anybody who's owned a dog or a cat knows this for a fact, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's not exactly the reason why we are doing this, but in January, Swede and I and some other people, we're going to go vegan for the month. It's going to be Veganuary.
Yeah.
So that's going to be happening.
Please. Hey, if you're watching, please look at Diana peek in down in the bottom corner.
Wait, let me play it again. We keep reusing those same awful pictures. When we started this podcast, we had maybe like 3 pictures of ourselves we were using. We've been reusing those 2 the entire time. Oh, I didn't even say where I'm in Cleveland and you're in Erie. You guys are both in Erie right now. And when we head back to our cities, which mine is now Los Angeles and yours is Phoenix, we're going to be doing Veganuary. We're going to try to do vegan for a month. And I say try because that's always what it is. And even if we fail for one day, it doesn't mean we're not going to hop on the wagon again the next day, right? But that's what January is about.
Yeah, I'm really super
Kelly
excited about this.
Kelly likes your picture.
That's my sister Kelly. Yeah, it ain't easy being Sweezy, as y'all know. So look, guys, what we're gonna do with this is on January 1st. That's this Sunday. Okay, this Sunday afternoon at 2:00, we're gonna go live on January 1st to kick off month 5 of the Get Busy Living Project 55. That's when we're going to share the details of the page and the chat group that we're going to use to keep in touch with those of you that want to participate in Veganuary. We're going to have instructions on how we want to track our progress. So we're going to help you understand about getting either a DEXA scan or blood composition, depending on the level of interest that you are. Some people just want to watch what they eat. Some people want to make themselves an experiment. We're going to offer support in all ways. So come back on Monday on January 1st, and for the kickoff of our first podcast series, 2023, and we'll give you information on how to join our Veganuary challenge. And I'm looking forward to Kelly, who has been a guest on past shows, helping us with some of her recipes. I've had her Alfredo. You want to talk about delicious food? Her Alfredo, and you know, like the last thing you think of being non-dairy is Alfredo, and she makes it so delicious. Ice cream, she makes vegan ice cream that is to die for. She has
I mean, what is
lasagna.
it, like a 5 or 6 hour drive for me? I'm doing it. If she's making that, I'm doing the drive.
Yes. So what we're going to do is throughout the course of the month, we're going to have little shows where Kelly and I are going to make some of her recipes and cut you guys in on the process. And the idea is to make it simple. Okay, so we're going to just do simple things for breakfast, like, you know, vegan cereals and fresh fruits for breakfast. Simple things for lunch, like smoothies, and that's where you want to try to pack in all your greens in there. And then simple things for dinner. Well, not the simple, the more complex, fun stuff for dinner. And that's where, you know, the recipes are going to come in. So come back on January 1st this year when we're kicking off Veganuary, and we're going to kick off the first full season of the Get Busy Living podcast. I cannot wait to break this out for you guys. There is big things in the mix. My consultant told me that I am the first person that he's met that he was telling that maybe I need to calm down or downsize a little.
Because your dreams are so big.
Well, I think he knows that the impact that we can make with stem cells is that big. And so he's like, usually I have to tell people to calm down, sweet, but I'm like, are you ready to get assassinated? So
let's not get assassinated just yet. Let's save that for like season.
Let's help some people first.
You know what? The reason I put the email up here, hello@getbusylivin.com, is because I think it might be interesting if somebody here is looking for a shakeup in their life and wants to do Veganuary with us, and we could just kind of, we could even have you on as a guest, and you could tell your experiences with it. That could be kind of cool. So, you know, drop us an email if you're even considering it, and be in touch with us. I think that could be cool.
Yes, we're looking for people that want to, you know, become a part of this community. We want to make it as relatable as possible. But the big picture here is being a part of this community is being a part of a movement where we're trying to inspire people to live a more purposeful, deliberate, intentional life. You know, where instead of just allowing life to happen to you and being complacent and having that empty feeling like there's more out there.
Yeah.
And we hope that by tuning in, we are going to be inviting experts that are going to help us with the actual meat and potatoes of the Get Busy Living project, as far as helping 10 people the way that I've been helped, and stem cell therapies. And we're going to be bringing experts on that are going to help people that need help with their finances in order to get busy living. We're going to be bringing experts on for people that need help with their mindset to get busy living. This is in its infancy. That's why we have a youngster here to bring their energy.
Yeah, I love having this young energy here. This is super fun. And you know, I think that anybody who just tuned in might want to know who you are. You are Ava Jean. You are a young Erieite. You are here to speak on topics of Erie and what it's like to be a young person in a small city that is underrated. And I just wanted to reintroduce you just in case people didn't know, because your name's not up here. But if you guys have any questions for Ava Jean, you can also put those in the comments. Now, have you ever tried, I'm asking Ava Jean this, have you ever tried running a mile?
I used to do track, so I used to run 2 miles.
Aha. Okay, so do you know what we're also doing in January?
The 100-mile.
Yes.
Oh, she called it.
Yes. So we're going to be doing our friend Chet Dine's 13th annual 100-mile challenge. That's coming up starting Sunday as well. There's a lot to do in January. There's a lot. But we're going to try to, I'm going to try to do 100 miles of running in January or walking. And Swede, what are you going to do?
I'm going to try to do 25 hours. That's a lot for me. I mean,
Yes,
being that
yes, that is a lot. And that's a wonderful goal.
25 hours is essentially the equivalent of what it took me to run 100 miles when I did the 100-mile challenge.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to
me too.
equivalent.
Did you ever succeed in doing the 100 miles in 1 month?
I only attempted it once, and I did. Yeah, the one time.
Oh, cool.
I did. And I succeeded by walking the last 5.5 miles on January 31st.
I've attempted it several times, and I've succeeded once, but I feel like I've succeeded every single time because it really pushed me outside of my comfort zone.
Absolutely. And if you try just by putting yourself in the arena, you are then succeeding in small ways. You know, that I was last night when Ava was like, I would like to talk about Erie in your podcast. And I was like, if we took this much exuberance, again, that word, into other avenues of our lives, and if we weren't so quick to child away and cower away from opportunities, so many people are like, oh, I can't because I got work. I understand that, but you always have work. It's up to you to try to figure out a way around that sometime. And I realize that a lot of people thrive on work, and those are where they get their small victories, and that's great. But I'm talking for the people that have not ever been able to like put down their work and pick up their own agenda and like pay themselves a break, you know?
Yeah.
So I want to inspire people to have this fearlessness like Ava Jean had, and was like, yes, I would love to be on your podcast, you know, because I feel like that right there, that spirit that it takes to have that is holding a lot of people back. They have all the other things they need. They're afraid to get up and try.
And Ava Jean, do you know that we've asked several adults that we thought would be good for the podcast to come on, and they were too afraid. So I think that your bravery here is to be commended. It's very nice.
So do you see yourself, Ava Jean, sometime in the future wanting to come back on and maybe have something that specific that you would like to share with everyone that you're passionate about?
I could see myself doing that, but like I don't know if I would do it, but I could see myself definitely doing it.
Well, you seem to be a natural. You're look at you, make great eye contact with the camera the whole time, and you're engaged. You can tell that you're listening and following along, and having your own. Don't force to chime in.
I don't know if you know who Maria Sansone is. Do you?
Well,
she's
I'm not really good for movies, but
it's okay. It's okay. But she's mostly like a TV personality here in LA and nationwide. She was on Yahoo for a while, quite often too. But she is an Erieite, and I don't personally know her well. We just happened to have like a class or two together, and she was a little younger than me. So when I was young, like 13 or 14, her dad somehow, like he noticed that she had a sparkling personality, much like yours. Here, let me get this banner off of here. And he was able to somehow get her a job on the news, interviewing local sports celebrities. And she was very good at it. And I think you would be too. And she grew up to be this famous TV personality, and she's from Erie. And I'm just saying, it's a possible thing. Like, don't rule out anything for your life. You could really, you really could be president.
So she was talking about the different places that she traveled last night. Can you remember the list that you rattled off last night?
I have a lot of places.
So tell us.
So I've been to Pittsburgh a couple times, Ohio. I've been to Denver. I've been to Orlando, Florida. I've been to Destin, Florida. I've been to South Carolina or North Carolina. I don't remember because I was a little kid. And then I think I've been to a couple more places, but I don't remember.
Oh, nice.
All that before your
That is a
I was
lot.
20.
And that's a lot for someone from Erie as well. Because in
And
Erie, you can tend to get kind of tucked away and not think about the rest of the world.
I think I drove through a couple places when I was like driving to North Carolina or South. I think I drove through like a couple places, but I don't think I ever stopped.
No, I think I remember you saying.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Dee.
Oh, no. I wanted to know, because you had said that she had done some research on Erie. I would like to know some sort of Erie fact that she came across.
Were you able to uncover anything that you felt was interesting that's like an Erie fact?
Me?
Yeah.
I didn't really get to like find anything, but
When you were saying one of your favorite things about Erie, I know that you mentioned Waldemar was one. Do you remember?
yeah, Waldemar's a really common one, and then trampoline places. I love that because I know how to do like back flips and stuff. And I would have to say the beach because me and my mom and my grandma, we would always get ice cream at Sarah's.
Yes.
And then we would walk down to the beaches and like my mom and grandma would bury me in the sand and we would have a fun time.
So much out of that. So D-Rex just went to Destin for the first time a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, that was fun. That was an eye-opening experience for me because I only know the beaches of Erie and the beaches of Southern California. And to see the beaches of Florida and of Destin, it's really amazing. Amazing beaches.
And I've been to Clearwater. I forgot about that.
That's nice.
Nice. Very nice.
But what sucked is the last time, like when we were driving to Destin because we stopped there, they had just got done with like a storm or like a storm was coming and the sand was like the sand at Clearwater was like hitting you in the face and it hurt so bad. Sand is softer in Destin than it is in Clearwater, to be honest. And the water is clearer.
You know, that sand in Destin was a very different thing. I didn't really get to sit on the beach during this trip, but there was one point where he stopped the car and I hopped out and I grabbed a handful of it and I felt it in my hand and it was like sugar. Amazing.
Speaking of trips, this month, you guys, you can stay tuned for a future podcast when we show you some footage of what we did this month. So the Get Busy Living Project 55, this is month 4. We went to Pittsburgh. I went down there with Kiro and Biz, and we went to the football game that was extremely important for the franchise. And the thing that was interesting about it was that it was so cold. It was one of the coldest games in the history of the city. And we went out there, and Kiro had me I was covered. I mean, there was no way I was going to get cold. They had me so bundled up. But what we didn't think of was I have a urine bag that hangs out with me.
Did it freeze?
It froze. It froze. And I don't know if I've shared this with you guys lately, but if that pathway gets blocked, it can cause me major problems. And so I started to feel these symptoms of those problems coming on, which I've been hospitalized several times in the past month or two because of these types of things. And I started to feel those symptoms coming on. And I was like, no, it can't be. And I looked down and I went to pull my bag up, and it was frozen so solid that like the hose didn't even straighten out. The whole thing picked up like it was one solid like piece of metal.
Oh my God.
It was crazy. Super
What
crazy.
was the temperature?
I think that like I watched the television broadcast and they were saying that it was like 10 and it felt like -4. But when we were driving down there, my car was saying that it was like -11 when we were driving in there. I don't know what it ended up being, but it was ridiculously cold.
I like that Kiro was taking good care of you, though. What did I say about Kiro last time I saw you guys in LA? Do you remember?
No, I
bet you don't.
Complimentary.
I said I like him. He's got good dad energy.
Oh yeah. Speaking of dads.
What?
Speaking of dads, so Ava Jean's got an extra special dad. What do you think it would take to get him to come out here and put his pearly whites up on camera?
Do you want me to go?
We can get him out here?
Okay.
Yeah.
After that, I'm going to use the bathroom.
Yeah, I could tell her she was doing a movie dance. I could tell that she wanted to share the spotlight.
Don't put her on the spot like that.
So, come
all
on
right,
out,
is
Peter.
he coming? Okay, you're gonna have to introduce him because I don't have a
Ladies
fancy
and
graphic.
gentlemen, put your hands together for the one and only Patrick. Already Peach is in the house. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, it's cool. Look, you're so much shorter or taller than daughter. And
Oh yeah, it's like a triangle. I think I'm sinking down in my goose chair here, my goose sounding chair.
There you go.
How's that?
Peach,
All
what
right,
does it mean to get busy living?
What's it mean to get busy
What does
living?
get busy living mean to you?
To me, I mean, you only get one car, you know. So I mean, life is what you make it. You know.
So talk to us about what you've been doing around the EPA. First of all, tell us about Ava.
Ava is a treat. She definitely keeps me busy. She's a sociable little ball of joy. She doesn't stop sometimes. She's very smart. She pays attention. She's a sponge. She wants to conquer the world. You know, it's hard to tell her, you know, it's one day at a time, you know. But it's like she wants to do it. She wants to do it all in so little time, you know.
Sounds like
I feel like the kids today, they actually can get things done faster because they believe things are possible. You know, our generation didn't always believe certain things were possible. These kids, they come right out like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get this done. And there's like no stopping them. There's no wall there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it seems like kids are so caught up in the time these days. It's like they forget to be a kid. You know, it's like everything's so enhanced with, you know, technology, you know, the apps, all that. It's like sometimes, you know, it's that being a kid thing is like almost compromised, almost like they grow up way too fast just because of, you know.
Yeah, but do they? But do they? Because I mean, don't you think that like people our age grew up too fast because we had to like figure out everything. We had to figure out if we accidentally lit something on fire, how to put that out, or you know, like if we got locked out of the house, how to sneak in the window.
From the days you had to be home when the street lights came on, you know. So it's like we were always out. We were never in the house, you know. We didn't have the gadgets and the you know, the technology that there is today.
So if anybody who's here watching, please put in the comments the craziest thing you had to figure out as a kid. I would like to know. I'll put it up on the screen. I'm trying to think
the craziest thing you had to figure out.
Yeah, the craziest thing you had to figure out as a kid.
I remember coming home one time, and so from the time my Grams moved us to 14th and Reed back in, I want to say it was like 1985. She had a job babysitting on the other side of the town. Like she was a bartender before that. She was never home at night. Then she had a job babysitting, so she was never home. And I remember going to coming home, and she had like certain foods there set out, you know, that I would have to be able to eat and prepare for myself. So like she taught me how to make myself macaroni and cheese and hot dogs when I was like 7 years old. And I would come home, you know, usually. And one night I come home and I was like, there was nothing to eat except for this nasty ass lettuce. And I call and I'm like, Graham, I'm like, can you please order me some Domino's or something because there's no food here. And she's like, honey, she was like, I could order you some food. And I was like, well, I was upset because my stomach was hurting. I said that I ate the rotten lettuce, and she's like, but there's no lettuce. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, yeah, there's lettuce. And I described it to her, and she's like, sweetheart, that's cabbage. It's not the same. I used to come home and just douse lettuce, like iceberg lettuce with a dressing, and eat it by the head of. I eat a whole head of lettuce. I ate a whole head of cabbage before my stomach got sick.
You ate rotten cabbage.
Oh God, there was not a lot of guidance at the house growing up. That's for sure.
No.
So,
and that's why I don't think that kids today grow up too quick. I really don't think so. I think that every generation has their own way of growing up too quick, whether that's a war that you get enlisted into, or a latchkey kid, or a kid who has access to everything on the internet. We all have our ways of growing up too quick,
Yeah.
If you don't live on a farm somewhere.
When you and your dad are hanging out, what do you guys like to do most often? How do you guys spend your time usually?
Well, basically, we've been spending time with you, and it's really fun. But in the summertime, we go to Waldemere, and we'll go to the beach. And then wintertime, we usually go sledding.
Yes, I love sledding. Man, that was my favorite thing when I was a kid. So did your dad ever tell you about Uncle Swede? And what did you expect when you heard that I was going to come visit? Would you expect him to be on a podcast?
No, I didn't expect you to be on a podcast. I expected a cool guy though. I was like, I don't know how it's going to be. I was like, I don't know, because I didn't really remember you. And then I was like, that's him? I was like, he looks pretty cool.
Well, thank you. You look cool too. And I got to tell you that, sitting and talking with you last night for an hour, I never ever once thought I'm sitting here talking to my niece. I thought I was sitting here talking to my friend. I appreciate you sharing so much of your thoughts with me last night. And you said so many nice things. And, I think it says a lot about your dad that you are able to sit down in a room full of adults. And not ever once did anyone feel like they needed to shush themselves, or did anyone feel as though they didn't have a mature person in the audience. So I think you should feel proud of yourself. And I hope you've enjoyed coming on the Get Bizzy Livin podcast. What do you think?
I need to say something.
Please do.
So, yesterday I was walking out and I was like, look how happy you are. To be in that condition, I would never see someone happy as you are. You're so happy, you have joy. If I was there, I would probably be miserable. Now you're just all happy. You don't even show if you're mad or sad.
I don't believe you would be miserable. Happiness. No, look at both of you. You would not be miserable. You would be the same as him. You are the same people right there. I can see it.
Yeah,
both of you focus on the positives, and that's really the key. I can see it in both of you, and actually it's in me too, and much to the annoyance of some people who want me to be realistic. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, that was kind of a little bit of the contrast of what we were talking about. How can you be so optimistic if you're being realistic? And where do you know where to draw the line? Oh, look at Tasha. Goodness, Ava, it definitely just melted my heart. How empathetic.
Yes, and I think both of you have an incredible amount of empathy as well, which I think is important for living a full and happy life, thinking about others. Absolutely.
To summarize, this thing, I've had to try to describe to people since I've been back into Pennsylvania over the course of this month 4 epic adventure, and they want me to summarize the Get Bizzy Livin project, or why I went and made the Help Swede Walk Again organization an official nonprofit, and it's because I do want to try to bring joy. I do want to, first of all, obviously I owe a huge party, but when your life has been saved and you've read what people thought about you when they thought you were going to die, and you're granted this opportunity. This project is not just me trying to help people that need stem cells. It's not just me trying to throw a party just because I said I would. I really hope that what you said, D-Rex, this morning when I told you about Ava Jean, I hope that comes to fruition, not just with this young rock star here, but with anyone that has or ever will watch this podcast. You know, you said, you were like, Swede, you told me back when you were describing this podcast what you wanted it to be, that if you could inspire one person to live along the lines of Gittin Bizzy Livin, that it would be worth it for you. And to hear you say the way that this child responded about the opportunity to get on the podcast, you know, that's it. You know, like if this inspired you, you said last night, Ava, that you felt inspired. If you felt inspired to the point where you wanted to come on this podcast, and then this inspired you to want to go on other podcasts or have a podcast of your own or come back on this one, or if you enjoyed the process of setting up the lighting or checking the text, or, you know, there's going to be a time, you know, in the near future where you're going to be doing all the makeup and all that kind of stuff too. You know, if any of this type of stuff, you know, catches your attention, you know, I hope that you will continue to be a part of our audience and take it upon yourself to live the life you want to live, you know, the purposeful, deliberate, intentional life to get busy living.
Yeah. You know, Ava Jean, have you ever heard, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, but have you ever heard about something called the butterfly effect?
No.
It's this theory that one butterfly flaps its wings, right? And then that creates a breeze that creates something else. And then that creates a bigger breeze. And it grows and grows until it becomes a hurricane somewhere on Earth, right? And that's really what we're trying to do here on this podcast is we're trying to create these little butterfly wings of inspiration and hope that it grows into a hurricane. And we sincerely hope that someday you're our hurricane.
Yes. And I hope that others will see that you, a courageous 10-year-old girl with a huge heart and all this charisma, had the nerve to come on here and share your smile with us. And we hope that they will be like, well, if this girl can do it, you know, hopefully they will remember, you know, the spirit that they had when they were younger. And they'll recall that, you know, that it's not too late.
Younger, like how young? Go on.
I think that you being on this show is an inspiration. I think that adults around the world will see this, and hopefully more children will see it and will, you know, be willing to, you know, to speak up and go after what you want. You know, so what do you think? Do you think we'll be able to get you to come back on an episode in the future?
Yeah.
And so, how long is it going to take before you've gotten your dad busy living and you guys are going to come visit me in Phoenix?
I don't know, because we were just talking about it today.
Oh yeah, the seeds already planted.
Ooh. Definitely
So, what do you
visit
think,
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Tell them July sounds good.
July.
It does.
So I think that is a good segue into the fact that we've got I've got January 1st is going to be live from Erie, Pennsylvania. Tune in on the 1st. The Get Busy Living podcast is going to come at you 2 Eastern on January 1st. And then we're going to resume our regularly scheduled every Thursday at 9 Eastern until further notice. And then we are going to be coming back at you in our month 5 location is going to be Flagstaff, Arizona. It's month 6. I'm sorry. Month 6 is Flagstaff.
Ooh. We are
7 is
really
my birthday, lucky number 7. We'll see where that goes. And then month 8, I'm gonna be back in Florida for the 420 canoe trip. And then we have talked to these nuts about going to Salt Lake City for May. So that's still a little bit further off in the mix. So we haven't laid that out yet. But come back on the 1st. Come back this Sunday so we can educate you guys onto how we plan on laying out this podcast for the rest of the year, so you can know what to expect, so you'll be turning in with a purpose, so that we can help you add some purpose, so you can be more deliberate about your life and intentional, so you can get busy living with us.
And maybe join us on these trips.
Yes, join us on the trips. So come back on Sunday. We'll see you guys. Thank you very much for tuning into the Get Busy Living podcast. And always remember, no matter the weather, always remember, we're all in this together.
Hell yeah.
Thanks, Ava
Thanks,
Jean. Say goodbye.
Thanks, Ava-Jean. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody who's here today.
When you see me, but you gotta believe me. Ain't nothing coming easy, my